spoke with some of the guys, but what was the thought process behind the DJ Moore trade?
Yeah, I think just a guy who's a dynamic player. You're always looking for weapons, tight end, receiver, running back. Like, how many different pieces can we give Joe Brady, Pete Carmichael, and Josh to, obviously you're trying to score points. And so he's a player that we tracked all the way back to the year Josh was drafted, and obviously had a good career in Carolina, gets traded some years back to Chicago. And I think just the opportunity from where they were with their cap and who they've added, some younger pieces, they were willing to make the move. And he adds, again, another dimension, another guy that's a run after catch, a big play potential guy.
How does that impact how you think about the first round or even the second round, maybe recouping a pick, but how you have to kind of change your philosophy, only having one first rounder and not picking until a third rounder?
Yeah, I mean, we still have to just stack the board. I know I say all the time, we have to stack the board and make sure we're trying to take the best player. We still have plenty of places that we can always look to get better, whether it's a day one starter or a guy that's a top backup that can play a lot of roles for us. So, yeah, I mean, you would love to have all your picks, but we just thought it was valuable enough to do the 2-5 swap for DJ, and we still have a number of picks, and it's very important that we hit on obviously the first, but the third, fourth, fifth, and beyond.
What are the updates, if any, on Josh's foot and where he is in terms of the offseason?
Yeah, so he's foot is, I don't want to say it's 100% Tim, but he's good. We expect him to be, when he gets back in April, we expect him to be full go.
How do you check in with him on that in terms of medically? Is a doctor out in California, or what's the logistics of just checking up on him?
So our medical team has checked up on him, and he's talked to the surgeon that's done it, and so they've I don't know every single conversation they've had, but Nate Bresky and team and Les Bassan have let us know he's on track and should be ready to roll once we're actually doing football stuff here in April.
Can you elaborate on that, just timeline-wise, like when, like full go for voluntary?
I think he'll be full go for voluntary. I don't think there's. I'm not aware of anything he'll be limited.
Gotcha.
From that standpoint.
I know you're probably still working through your board, but the DJ Moore trade happens. What does that mean for that room and potentially adding maybe a wide receiver even at 26? Does that change anything, or are you still open to that if that's the best player?
It's definitely still open to that. Like, we really, we're looking at it as you got DJ, you got Khalil, you got Palmer, you got Keon. Obviously, Shaver's injury situation. We got McCole Hardman. We got a number of guys that will be in there competing. All those guys that I just went through kind of have different skill sets. Some are kind of one position, some are outside, some are inside. Just what's another piece? If there's a guy we think that's another piece, you could also, does the guy do anything extra other than receiver? Is he a gunner? Is he a punt returner? Like, all those conversations. How does he get to game day? How does he help us? Is he getting a jersey? Those will be the conversations. But yes, if there's a dynamic player that can help us, starter or not at receiver, we would take him at 26.
Where do you think you are at the linebacker position, especially transitioning to Jim Leonard's style of play?
Yeah, I mean, we've got some players that we've talked about how they'll fit in this new scheme with Jim, and but we do need to continue to add more. We've had conversations, through free agency with linebackers, other positions. We have not chosen to add one at this point, but there's also, at this time, John, there's guys that are like, you know what, I didn't get maybe the money I was looking for, whatever. I kind of want to wait till after the draft and see where guys go. I don't want to sign and somebody take one in the first round and now I'm not sure my fit. So you're kind of at that point with some of the vets that have played. They want to see, where teams go in the draft. So we could still add someone between now and then, but I think depending on how the draft goes, we could also add after.
How do you see the three guys you signed last week fitting in, starting with Corbett?
Yeah, so as far as, O-line, so Corbett he's kind of an interior guy. He's played center and guard. He's played both. He's not just a left or a right. Obviously, our biggest hole, losing Dave Edwards is at left, so there will be competition there with Alec and him, and we could have other guys as well. But he's a proven starter. I think we were able to get him. He's had a couple durability things, and so, but well regarded, brings leadership, intelligence to the room, and he'll be in the mix for obviously probably the shortest path to being a starter would be to win the left guard, but he can play center for us as well. Cushenberry, probably a center first. He could probably play out. Guard as well. We'll give him reps there, but I would say competing to be that top backup behind Connor, and then who else? Sherfield. Oh, Sherfield. So Trent was obviously here a couple years back. Has gone on. Trent's a guy, kind of a do-it-all, kind of what I just said, a guy that can play outside, play inside, adds to the special teams as well. Proven vet, smart guy. Just another guy to add to the competition to the room as we kind of build this roster up to 90.
If the value doesn't make sense in the draft at receiver, is Brandon Cook somebody that you may circle back on or you've kept in contact with?
Have had conversations not only with his agent but with him as well, and really loved what he did for us at the end of the season last year. And I think kind of what I said, seeing how the draft falls, seeing what our numbers are, and I think that's kind of where he's at too, making sure he doesn't go somewhere and a team drafts someone high.
Signed 3 safeties so far, CJ, Gino, and DeMar. Just what's your evaluation of where that position group's at?
Yeah, again, you never know how it's going to fall. John brought up linebacker. We didn't add one there, but we didn't go in and say we plan to add 3 safeties, but you're always looking for competition, versatility, what guys can bring different elements. Obviously we talked about CJ before, but Gino is a guy I don't know if we've talked about since we signed him. Gino's a proven starter in the league, got a free agent deal a few years back, and has played in the AFC, so we're very familiar with him. Very good ball skills and instincts. Those are probably the top 2 things. I think the thing that probably was a little bit of his downfall last year, just had some tackling things. We talked about that, and I don't think it's want to. I think it's just some technique things that we can work on and clean up. But adds another proven player in there. And then getting DeMar back, obviously everyone here knows DeMar very well, and he had the unfortunate injury in practice last year, which stunk for him and for us, but he's healthy, ready to roll, good reset, and he knows our building, new defense, but he's a smart guy. He'll pick it up, and he'll jump in the competition as well.
Do you still plan on picking up Dalton Kincaid's 5th-year option, or at least trending that way?
Yes, we actually turned that in. So we have notified him and his agent that we've picked that up. So that secures him for the next 2 seasons.
Okay.
Why has Gardner Johnson been on 5 teams in a year?
Yeah, I think he's a competitive dude. He's a player that I don't think he hides his emotions. I think he's, we're looking for competitive guys, and we talked about, I thought he was pretty honest, Tim, with when he came in. This is a guy you want to ask him. Like, you don't just want to agree on the phone and say, we're going to take your story. Let's walk through it. I think one of the things that helped us, Tim, was we had some guys on staff that have been around him in New Orleans, and Craig Robertson, who was playing at the time when he was drafted, was kind of his big brother, and Craig's on staff, and has stayed in contact with him, vouched for him. We obviously made calls, and I think he was honest. He said he knew, there's some things he could have done, differently, and has learned and matured. Some of that edge you want. One of the guys I talked about when we signed him was I was around a guy like Steve Smith who brought an edge, and you just want to make sure they know where the boundaries are and that it doesn't take away from the team. But Love is competitive. The guy takes the ball away. The guy brings an edge to your defense, and that was one of the things that we talked about. How do we add some more edge to this group?
Can you give a couple examples of what his edge is? What is it? Because edge is kind of a vague term. What about his edge? I
think it's twofold. He's going to talk, like he's going to bring it. You're going to hear him. But I think when you watch his tape, Tim, like this guy he's not looking to pull you down or push you out of bounds. Like he's looking to throw every ounce of energy he's got into that player to deliver a forceful blow.
So do you want him, whatever this edge is that has wears out his welcome or wears people out,
Yeah.
do you want him to keep that, or is there a part, and based on your research and your background that you've done on him, is that something that he needs to dial back to be?
We want his
Buffalo
edge.
Bill?
We want his edge, but we talked about, just making sure you got to be a good teammate. You don't want any cheap shots, in practice or anything like that. You want to keep it in between, those lines. But you do want his edge, like the jawing at practice or whatever some of those things are. We even talked to DJ Moore, who was with him in Chicago this last year, and DJ vouched for him as well as a guy on the opposite side of the ball. So that's, again, we'll get to know him even more as he gets in here for the offseason program, but excited to add his talent to our group.
With Chubb and Rousseau, you got two power rushers. Do you feel like, Hoyt's coming back, do you feel like you want more speed in that room, that speed element that you can have your pass rush?
Yeah, Lance, I think speed is a term thrown out there all the time. We love it. Not just at edge. We'll take speed even in the interior. You take a guy like another Ed Oliver that's the speed, linebacker speed. Obviously, we added corner speed with Alford can run. Maxwell coming back, we've got it there. I think we've added some safety speed, but that is a thing that we've talked about. Where can we get faster? And so, rusher would be another one if we see the right fit.
Brandon, at the bottom of the second round, you've gotten Cook, you've gotten Torrance, and Bishop in the last few years, all pretty successful players. You're not slated to pick there now at that bottom of the second round range after this trade. Does that color or shape how you maybe approach potential trade down possibilities in the first round, or conversely trade up possibilities from the third round into that 60-ish range?
Yeah, I think good question. I think as we get this board finalized, like when I talk to you guys before we start, I think I'll have a better idea. The scouts are coming in we're going to start Thursday of this week and kind of go through what's happened since Indy, Pro Days, and privates, and start cleaning this thing out and seeing where the depth are at positions. And then I think in those years we did feel really good about what would be down there. And I think if we feel like there's a lot of players then I need to find a way, whether that's, hey, you know what, we see more value there, let's trade back and see if we can get a player there plus another fourth or a third. Or to your point, if we select at one and we're like, man, there's a lot of value up there, not sure if we're going to see it at the bottom of three, then be a little more aggressive to get back up.
With Kincaid, last year you said he's get stronger. The health is a thing. Still was a problem. We saw the production when he was out there elevate more this past year. So what's the next step you're looking to see from him?
Yeah, I think Dalton did get stronger. I think the knee, I think his whole body, he did hold up better. I think just the knee was bothersome. And what happens, John, is, you're fighting that battle of rest and not playing and getting out of rhythm versus keeping them going. So we tried to, you're in season. You can't just shut them down. So we tried to manage that. His reps kind of came like when he was on the field, it was for a lot of the time it was probably a passing situation. We'd like for it to be where he's able to play more. Dawson probably ended up playing the most just because of where Dalton was. But the number one thing is let's get it stronger. Not only the knee itself, but around the knee. You strengthen the quad. There's a ton of things that our guys have done, and we've been in contact with him. He's not in Buffalo, but he's been really working with some people on a plan and you just hopefully you have no setbacks. Unfortunately, that thing just it flared up, and it was tough to calm down. We set him a little bit, but again, it's that kind of that fine line. But I do think, to Dalton's credit, the rest of his body held up pretty good. I do think he got stronger, and the goal is to continue to do that again this year.
Is there any concern he's going to have to manage that workouts, summer training camp, or even something that you may have to manage during the season like he did this past?
I think it's too early to tell. We're hopeful and optimistic that he'll be able to, but I think we'll just see how that goes. Some of these guys, they can, in my experience, is you can get them through the off season because but training camp is training camp. So I think we'll kind of see how that's going in camp. Is he having to go 2 days on and one a little less or one off? I think we'll see how it's doing, and we just got to make sure it's smart. We got to get him ready, get him kind of armored up, calloused, if you will, and make sure he's ready for a 17-game stretch.
You were willing to commit 3.5 to Vandy, but then couldn't for the 4.2 and change. What was the thought process and difference there?
Yeah, I mean, we were trying to keep. Listen, the 3.5 was even a tough number for us to do, and I know some people probably were like surprised they were able to do that. We really like Vandy and are proud of his development. Thought last year he took a step forward, played, and obviously we won some games with him at tackle. Tackles are a premium position, so we tried our best. Now, you have to look at our cap, and we obviously spent the money on DJ and Chubb and some of these other guys, and we do feel like a Tylen Grable, Chase Lunt in the second year. Who knows what happens in the draft, but we'll still try to add depth. There's some vets that we've talked to as well, and you're proud of Vandy, you don't want to lose him, but that number it was already a hard number for us. We were stretching to kind of make it work. Adding that the way it was structured was going to be a little tough for us.
You don't have to reveal your position, but if you would, what do you think about the proposal of the 5-year out draft picks by the Browns?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard conversations before about our league has, some of these other leagues allow you to trade years out, with various restrictions on them. So it's not surprising. The trades are happening more and more every year. And so I think it's just their view of maybe this is something else we can do. It was discussed yesterday. I don't know that it's going to pass. We'll kind of see, in the next 24 to 48 hours what it does. But
I think Sean McVay said 0% chance of pass is what he said this morning.
Yeah, probably close. But it was debated around yesterday a little bit. I didn't personally. It didn't seem like there was a lot of support for it.
What are your thoughts on 18 games?
Great question. I think 18 games, I think we'll need to make sure the roster sizes and the game day. Like, what's the total roster? What's the game day? I know the NBA, that word load management's been used. Is that something that we have to consider? I think we'll have to look at everything. But I think, right now we're at 48 on game day. I'm personally pushing, for us to hopefully get more at some point. But I think those are the numbers you're going to have to talk to. Does 53 go up to 55 or 56? And does your game day roster get at least to 50 and maybe more? I think it's even hard. We talked about it. I think it's hard right now with the 17 game, and you got Sunday games and then Thursday games. Some of these guys would play on Sunday, but they couldn't play. So those are even things we've talked about. Is there at some point a change to allow us more access to practice squad players from those Sunday to Thursday games?
Would an extra bye be necessary?
I think you would have
preseason reduction or something.
I would guess you would reduce the preseason. I would guess, and right now a lot of people are doing the joint practice thing and not playing guys. Definitely that third preseason game. That third preseason game's really become those guys fighting for the last spots. Young players that need reps more than the guys that we all kind of know are going to be on the 53.
Speaking of joint practices, there was a report yesterday that you guys and the Browns are at least in position. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, we have tentatively lined it up for a one-day. We have to wait until the league confirms that it is a week 2, but we're looking at potentially week 2 of the preseason in Cleveland.
You and Joe, this offseason, and you've said this multiple times over the years, when you're paying your quarterback, that's a very big percentage of your cap. How do you guard, though, against maybe that being, even if you don't intend it to be, maybe a built-in excuse? Not that you haven't done things to build the roster, but that can kind of be sitting in the back of your head sometimes. I think fans sometimes, shouldn't be because you're paying Josh Allen that you can't build a championship caliber roster. How do you guard against that?
Yeah, I don't guard against.
Just the idea in the building that because you're paying Josh, it's hard to build a roster that can compete for a championship. Like, you're restricted in a lot of ways, which you are, but there's this perception out there that
Yeah, no. Like I mean, we're trying to build this thing every year. That's why I do say sometimes we have to be smart, because we don't want to walk into a year where we've just got to unload things, which you've seen teams have to do from time to time. Like you've kicked the can so far down the road that your hands are tied. But no, our goal every year. I mean, I would say if you go back to, I would say since 2021, we felt like we've had a team that can, win the division, get into the playoffs, and make a run. You have to be healthy. You have to be playing your best football at that time. You have to take care of the ball, all the things that we know of. But no, the goal is no different in 2026. Is we use all the pieces we have. We've restructured deals. We know we're going to have to be creative with contracts and find different ways to add pieces for cheaper. Whether you're going to add a guy with a lot of starting experience in an Austin Corbett for a lower price. Why? Not because of his ability, but because he's had some injury issues. And so it's our job to find different ways to offset his salary. But we believe when we line the ball up in September that we're going to have a team that we feel confident can go chase a division, which is your ticket in. And if not, at least be good enough to, like last season, we didn't win the division, but to get in and still go make a run.
I guess the better question maybe is, you pay that contract every time because of the player.
Yes. Yeah, you there's no way you wouldn't. To me, it's a quarterback league. It's the most important position in all sports. And I think if you look at, most of the contenders, they have steady quarterback play, for the most part, even if they don't win. And sometimes there's a year where teams make a run and they say, man, they didn't have, that kind of came out of nowhere. But most of the teams that you see consistently competing for it, have that guy at that position. And so we want to make sure we keep Josh upright, healthy, for years to come. We think he gives us a great chance to win it, and that's the way we're going to build it.
On that note, the guy up front, Osiris Torrance, after his third year, eligible for an extension, but you also have cap issues. How do you go about working that in your thought process with him?
Yeah, I mean, love Cybo, and you're right. You're now eligible to do that. I think we'll get through the draft. We'll see if there's any more moves we do free agency wise, and we're definitely looking at that. He's done an excellent job in a 3-year starter for us. So yeah, as you know, we've also done guys in the summer, even if we don't do something in the spring. We've had conversations. You're always having dialogue with most of your players that are eligible, where you're at, where they're at. Some guys are like, hey man, unless you're way up here, we want to play it out. Some guys are like, hey, if it's reasonable, he just wants to stay here. So we'll keep each conversation internal, but proud of Cybo, love him, and he's a guy of course you would love to keep if you can make the economics work.
Is Alec Anderson your left guard? Are you ready to say that? Or
he's
no?
going to be competing for it. Yeah, I think there's going to be a good competition at left guard. I wouldn't want to give that to him or anyone else. I would say because Alec's been here, if we played a game right now, he knows the system and would probably be out there first. But between now and when we get pads on and all that, I think it'll be a wide open competition.
Can you give us an update on Dorian Strong on the record as much as you can?
Yeah, Dorian, he had a neck procedure done after the season, and it's just in the healing phase right now. There's not a lot of rehab to it. It's just kind of see how it does. It's a specialized surgery, and beyond that, not a lot of details. It's still an unknown, where that is and whether he'd be able to return.